Hi guys, Long White Mane here again. This is the channel where if you can grow your hair down to your butt, you'll never have a bad hair day. There's Beatty. He's directing today. Just kidding. He's just a chihuahua. What does he know? Um, this video is in response to Kukian's Snapchat video. I've got a roommate I'll talk about in another video that is really ill, so I really don't follow Snapchat, Twitter, any of that crap anymore. I just have other things to do. Um, but I do understand that Kukian posted some weird video where it was dark, he was crying, there was a knife, and somebody walked in and said, "John, what are you doing?" And then the video cut off. And during this nonsense, his fans, those that knew enough, were close enough to him to have his number or his address, were calling the police to do a welfare check on him, which is exactly what they should have done. I don't know if Kukian's or Kukian's suicide video was real. Um, Personally, those of you who have been through my videos, I think the man is psychotic. But a man who first posts this very dark, sad, depressed video with a weapon, and then a few minutes later is on Twitter giggling and laughing, it's either a con or it's bipolar disorder, rapid cycling bipolar. So since I don't know the man and I'm not a doctor, it's all speculation. Okay. But I did want to do a video on the myths of suicide. It just seems like uh, the myths perpetuate every branch of society, even medical trained medical professionals that are not trained in psychiatry, or psychology, they seem to believe these myths as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this video on the myths of suicide. The first one is, and this is the one I hate the most, so I'll get it out of the way: suicide people are weak. They're taking the easy way out. Really? You think so? Okay, tell you what. You put that noose around your neck, pretend you're going to hang yourself. Take an empty gun to your head. Imagine pulling the trigger. Is that weak? No, you don't want to pull that trigger, do you? You've got too much to live for. What I'm telling you is you don't get it at all. Suicide is not about strength. It's not about bulldozing your way through a simple thing you should just snap out of. Suicide is all about two things: pain and hopelessness. Okay? Now, I am not a trained medical professional, but with all the articles I've read, both studies and magazine stories, I read everything, and I have a head full of useless information. And my personal experience with suicide and depression is all about pain and alleviating that pain, and it's brought on by one thing: hopelessness. Okay, so having said that, there are a lot of myths about suicide that I just want to clear up. So I talked about that suicidal people are not weak. All right, we went through that. I really didn't mean to don't put a gun to your head or a noose around your neck or whatever. I just wanted you to imagine being in such pain that you would get to that point. And, it's really not fair, because if you are a mentally, emotionally healthy individual, or you just have had a light brush of depression, maybe you need a little therapy, you really don't understand the soul crushing pain, the unspeakable, unthinkable burden that pain is. You just don't get it. It's kind of like, asking me to judge a rap music battle. I know nothing. Sorry about that. I know nothing about rap music or battling with rap music. So how in the world could I possibly judge, right? Exactly. So if you don't know, you've never been through it, you don't know. Okay. All right, the next myth I want to talk about, asking someone about suicidal thoughts will put the idea in their head. That's funny. I really think that's funny because the one thing you should do if now, okay, what I'm talking, this phone's got a lot to say. Sorry about that. Um, what I'm saying is, if you are a friend or family member who has a friend or family member who is depressed and suicidal, you've got to be in for the long haul. If you're one of those people that's really wrapped up in yourself and you can't take 5 minutes to listen to somebody and you say, well, just call me if you need anything, honey, I'm here, which is a lie. Don't, don't help because you just make things worse. I want to talk to the people who are in it for the long haul. Okay. So anyway, asking somebody about suicidal thoughts will put the idea in their head. Listen, speaking from personal experience, the idea is already in their head. All right. They're already talking about it. They're already thinking about it. If they're not talking about it, they may have a plan in place. They may have a date and time that, you know what I'm saying? So you need to find out, you need to ask, and you need to get them help. And if it reaches crisis intervention or, to the point where you're feeling like, wow, this person's really I'm out of my depth here. Don't be afraid to call a crisis hotline for them. Don't be afraid to call 911 and get them into a hospital. A pissed off friend is better than a dead friend. A pissed off loved one is better than a dead loved one any day because, they'll get over being mad, or they should. Okay. But dead, you don't come back from. So there is nothing wrong with asking, are you suicidal? Do I need to call your doctor? What can I do? Can I take you to the hospital? Right? Know what your mental health options are in your city or town. Here in Texas, we have MHMR where anybody can walk in and fill out like stacks of paperwork, but you get mental health care for little to no cost depending on your income. And I've used it twice because I needed it, between jobs because I didn't have insurance to pay for my medication. So, um, anyway, know what your mental health resources are and know when to call 911, and also don't be afraid to talk to them about it. Okay. People who threaten suicide never go through with it. Yeah, right. Guess what? They're talking to you about suicide because they want you to hear. They want to listen. They want someone to listen. They have got this boil of pain inside themselves. And it's underneath that depression and pain, there's rage, right? So they're talking to you because they want you to listen. Okay. Turn your phone off, unlike me. Turn off your phone for an hour or two and sit and listen. And I'm warning you, it's not it's not always going to be pretty, right? I mean, it's not going to be you and your friends sitting down to tea and going, oh, Dawn, I feel like getting the rope out. I think I'm going to commit suicide. Yes, dear, do. It's not like that. This person may stand up and scream and rage at you to the point where the roof is bouncing off the house. You know, they may insult you. They may call you names you've never heard before. Don't take it personally. Just be there. And if you're feeling, but while you're there, don't put yourself at risk. Okay. If you're getting to a point where you think you're getting into, you begin to think you're getting into danger point, don't be afraid to call 911. Okay. Don't put yourself at risk. But a lot of the times the person just wants someone to listen because they feel hopeless and they're in pain. And it could be that by listening, after they're done talking, you can help them through whatever it is. You may spot a solution to their hopelessness that they never found, or you can make something happen. You know what I'm saying? But get them help, but don't put yourself at risk. Okay. Suicide does not affect young people. You know what? I think that we've already figured that out, haven't we? Um, what I have in mind are those poor boys and girls who've been bullied over social media and see no way out of it, and they kill themselves. You know, their poor parents, their poor siblings come home and find them hanging in the closet. It's a brutal death. It's ugly. Well, all suicides are ugly in my mind, but it doesn't mean there's not help available. Okay. And what I wish is if you are a parent and you allow your children to be on social media, make sure that you can see what they're doing on that social media. Are they being bullied? How are they doing in school? You know, what's going on in school? The kids are afraid to tell you. They feel like they got to handle it themselves. And you know what? Most times they can't. Okay. So if you find that your little one or your teen is being bullied on social media, make sure that you handle it. I know that schools across the country have these policies against bullying, but how many times have they really been enforced? Really? And they haven't. So um, make sure you know what those policies are. You make sure that they're enforced. Even if you've got to get to the point where you get a lawyer, okay? I know I'm speaking personally. Back in 78, 79, I was being bullied in junior high by this girl who was just, my mother went to the police to file a report against her because of the bullying, and the police in our city pulled a file out on her, and I swear to God it was this thick. This girl should not have been in conventional school. And it got to the point where my mother had a lawyer write a letter for 25 bucks, and that letter did everything. It made her go to a different school. It made her uh, little cronies go into entirely different classes where they never even saw me during the day. It was just like magic. So there's things you can do. There's, places you can go. If you find your child has been bullying others, I suggest you accept that and realize that your child is not the perfect little angel you'd like to think they are, and get that little one help, because bullies have their own issues. You may have to realize that you need a different parenting style. I don't know. I'm not a parent, but I just want you to know that, suicide is a thought, even for little ones, even for teens, even the elderly. Statistically, the elderly are at the highest risk for committing suicide, um, because their friends are dead, their friends are gone, their friends are, you know, they they're just waiting to die. So make sure that you're checking in constantly with your elderly loved ones, keeping them included in your family. A lot of them don't have family, and that's harder to get to know them then, but do the best you can. Um, the other myth, if someone's bent on committing suicide, there's nothing that can stop them. Horse hockey. You, by listening, you may be the one that keeps your friend or loved one alive for the next 48, 28 hours. Just that window big enough to get them to help they need. All right. Um, People who want to commit suicide don't want to get help. Not true. A lot of them will welcome the help. They just didn't know where to turn. Okay. Um, what you can do, you take all the threats seriously. Just like the Kukian's followers on Snapchat. They tried to call the police to get them to do a welfare check on him. Whether it was real or not, I don't know. It wasn't in his head. I don't know the man, thank God. But that's what they did. They took it seriously, which is exactly what they should have done. Help them get to professional assistance. Okay, whether that's being committed on a 72-hour hold, which will piss them off to no end, but a pissed off friend is what? Better than a dead friend. So make sure you get that help for them. Um, and it may be that you need to create a safe environment for those people to express themselves. And what I mean is, if you go to a friend's house, bring 2 or 3 friends with you. If you go to a relative, bring 3 or 4 relatives or friends with you. Don't put yourself at risk while maybe you or someone is talking to the suicidal person. You or those other people can get rid of the guns, the knives, the pills, the ropes, uh, I don't know, bolt guns, whatever that person has around that may be harmful to them. Take them out of the house until that person gets help and becomes stabilized. Okay. Um, Make sure you have your resources. I'm going to list a bunch down below. If you have anything to add, please put it in the comment section. The more we know, the better off we are. And the last big thing I want to talk about is stigma. Okay. I'm a mental health advocate. I am not a trained psychiatrist or a trained psychiatric nurse. I'm not even a psychologist. I'm just an advocate. I have bipolar 2, which means that instead of the manic bipolar, I have more of the depressed range. So I understand depression and suicide. It can happen to anybody. Depression doesn't care who you are, what you are. It doesn't care if you're a old white male. It doesn't care if you're a young black man. It can happen to anybody. Okay. So don't think that you're the one, you won't get it, or you're the only one. Okay. Suicide, depression, it's like cancer. It doesn't care who you are. So, um, the other thing I wanted to say is stigma. Okay. There's a lot of cultures, the Hispanic culture, Hasidic Judaism, you know, feelings of suicide and depression just aren't acknowledged. You're weak if you feel that way. In Hasidic Jewry, if you are melancholic, which is their word for depression, you're almost shunned because you're not quality person, You're insane, you're crazy. In Christianity, I've talked to a lot of people who, well, you need to claim in the name of Jesus Christ that you're not bipolar. Well, you know what? Guess what? He put this thorn in my side and said, deal with it. I'll help you through it. I'm not preaching, but I'm saying that there are people who just don't handle this stuff realistically. And um, I'm here to tell you, no matter what your culture is, no matter if you're a male or a female, if you're a male, there is no shame in becoming depressed, especially after a job loss or financial loss, um, divorce. We all need help at some point. And sometimes we can be depressed and have help for a few months and then we're fine. And others of us need a lot more intensive focus. So as a man, please don't be afraid to ask for help. Um, I'm working very hard by myself to get rid of the stigma. I don't care who knows that I have a mental health, issue. If they have a problem with it, it's their problem. you know, I don't care. If someone finds out I have have bipolar disorder, and they look at me like I'm going to start smearing, poo-poo on the walls, well, that's their problem. They have not read the facts of my condition, um, and therefore it's their problem. I have many friends that understand and care and love me, so I'm not hurt with that. And I'm afraid that you, as a man or a woman, will find that in spite of your culture or your religion, if you continue with help and therapy, you will find more and more people in your same boat, and you can learn from each other, and they can learn from you. So keep these suicidal facts in mind, myths, excuse me. Keep these myths in your mind. Understand any type of suicide, whether they're talking about it, not talking about it, whether you see signs of it or don't. Take it seriously. Be ready to listen. Be ready to face great waves of screaming and yelling and raging. Be ready to just listen to someone sobbing for hours on end. Okay? But get them help. Steer them in a way where you can get them help. Okay? If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the blank. I usually find that no one watches these videos. I do them for myself, but maybe one day someone will stumble across it and I can help at least one person. Um, if you, like I said before, if you are a person who doesn't have time in your life to be friends or close to someone in your family with mental health issues, um, you have to be in for the long haul. So if you're not having, if you don't have time, please don't. Please refer them to somebody else that does, because you won't be helping anything. You'll probably end up ghosting on them, and that will make them even more depressed, and you wouldn't have helped matters at all. Okay, I'm speaking very bluntly because I've had it happen. You know, don't tell them, call me if you need anything, because it's a bullshit line. All right. But those of us who are in for the long haul, hang in there, get help for yourself when you need it, and don't be afraid of the stigma. Fight against it. Thank you so much, and take care.